What do the yogic teachings say about people who identify as LGBTQIA+? And you can start.
Okay. So I'll start by paraphrasing Swami Shankarananda, who was my teacher and who founded our meditation community. And in case this is helpful, just to state this very boldly, Swami Shankarananda said, there is nothing sinful about being LGBTQIA+. It is no more a sin to be LGBTQIA+ than it is to be a straight person. And so just rejoice that the light in you is magnificent. The light in you is beautiful. The light in you is perfect. You are honored. You are loved. You are blessed. And so to fully allow yourself to stand in that recognition, to fully allow yourself to be seen in that light, to fully allow yourself to be loved exactly as you are. You are so beautiful and so perfect. You are so whole. You are so magnificent.
Welcome, everybody. Happy Sunday. Swami, I wanted to say that opening meditation was top tier. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so welcome to the Truth, Love, and Justice series. The topic today is how to live in joy in gender. And the purpose of the Truth, Love, and Justice series is how to live the yogic teachings in our everyday life. The ultimate question for each of us every day is, what do the yogic teachings say about whatever is in front of me? And then we do our best to live into those teachings, to be those teachings as we move through our human experience. So I'll start with a little bit of framing around the topic today so that we all have the same foundation. So I'll start with biological sex, which is different from gender. I think that it's important to distinguish between the two for the conversation. So biological sex refers to the biological attributes of an organism. So it has to do with physical characteristics and chromosomes. So most humans have 46 chromosomes, and just two determine biological sex. So the XX chromosome together create the male sex, and then XY, the female sex. And then some humans have multiple variations of that. So it could be XXY. And biologists often refer to that as intersex. Now, most often what happens is when a human is born, the doctor assigns a gender to the biological sex. So gender is a social construct. We talked a little bit about social constructs the last time that we had the Truth and Justice series. So a social construct is essentially an idea, a concept that society has agreed upon. So when you're born, you say, hey, this social construct of what it is to be a man, or this is the social construct of this is what it is to be a woman. If you are born with a certain chromosome pattern that matches the gender expression that is pleasing to you, then that's called cisgender. If you are born with a certain biological sex that does not match the gender expression that is pleasing to you, that's what is transgender. And so gender is not biological. It is a man-made concept. In fact, we really did not start to use the term gender as it relates to people until the 50s. It was really just associated with like grammar for quite some time. And if you look at different societies, the way that construct plays out is different based off of the society in which the people live. So it's ever changing. For most of human civilization, we've played with the binary, which is interesting in that it's all a part of the duality. It's all a part of the Maya. But we're going to step back now to explore what do the yogic teachings have to say about all of that. So I'll posit first a question to Swami. And it is, what is joy? So what the question that we're answering here is how to live in joy and gender, but what is joy and what does it mean to be in joy?
Welcome. It is a joy to be with you. If you are enjoying this content, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps light travel. What a fantastic question. And thank you for such a beautiful intro as well. Thank you. So one of the teachings from the yogic scriptures, and this is from the Taittiriya Upanishad, and I'll read it so that you have the exact phrasing. From joy we have come. In joy we live and have our being. And in that sacred joy, we will one day melt again. And so this is a beautiful reminder for all of us that according to the yogis, we are the energy of joy. Prior to coming into this particular lifetime, this particular body, this particular gender, we are the pure energy of joy. And then for each human, gender and sexual orientation is a facet of being human. It's not the only aspect of our identity, but it's a beautiful facet of being human. And so then the question for each of us is, how may I allow that pure energy of divine joy to fill me with joy as I express being a man or a woman or a non-binary person or whatever name I use to describe myself? How may I live in the fullness of joy in that expression? When we are taking that particular approach to living our human experience, our human reality, we will also naturally express recognition, respect, awareness, understanding, caring, connection, community to all the other beautiful, radiant expressions of joy by whatever name they call themselves and in whatever genders they are expressing themselves. So that's just a brief intro.
Thank you, Swami. When you were speaking, two things came to me. The first is the Buddhist mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. The jewel is in the lotus. And the same way that a jewel can have many aspects and many different inflections. And if you hold it from this angle, the light moves in that direction. And if you hold it in that way, the light moves in this direction. So the jewel that's being referred to in that mantra is you. It's pure consciousness. It's love. It is the joy that is the only thing. And so that joy takes shape. It's all of these beautiful different inflections that we call ourselves me. I am an aspect of that jewel. You are an aspect of the jewel. And again, it can play out in 100,000 different ways. The same way that a prism, when the light hits it in a certain way, the rainbow hits the wall, right? So all of that rainbow is within the prism of pure consciousness, but the diversity exists in the realm of space and time. Same thing. And then thinking about connecting again to joy that exists within us, I'm reminded of a quote from Ramana Maharshi. He says that it's not wrong to look for happiness, to look for joy. We do it because it's in us. That's what we are. He says the confusion comes when we begin to look for that joy outside of ourselves. And so that is the place of great confusion for us. So the joy that we speak about today, we will not find it in the world. It exists within you. When you recognize it within yourself, you see it everywhere in the world. It is in the breeze. It's like the hum of your car engine when you're driving. It's the laughter of your friend. It's the thing that goes your way. It is also the thing that does not go your way. And so joy is the natural state of being. Joy is what we are. And that joy sort of naturally bubbles to the surface exuberantly, like a geyser. If you've ever seen a geyser, how it can just like, that when we are not attached to identification. So it's wonderful to be that expression, that light and expression in the form of Kashi and all of the things that Kashi does in the realm of time and space. But the moment that Kashi becomes attached to the things that Kashi does in time and space and believe that this is who I am, the confusion comes in. And then it's possible for me to feel less than joy. it's possible for me to feel less than what I am in truth. Okay, first question, and I'm going to posit it to you first, Swami. For those who are in genders or gender expressions that do feel dominant, how do they live in joy in gender?
Good question. And I'm inviting everyone to meditate on all of these questions as well. So Kashi and I are sharing entry points, and then please listen to the entry points that your own heart provides as well. So I actually did not plan on talking about this, but as I was sitting here, I was remembering during the pandemic, I teach university students, I teach young people. I remember teaching a class in which 3 very brave young men, these are students who are like 18 to 22 generally, 3 very brave young men from different backgrounds said to the whole class that one of the most painful things they had ever experienced was between the ages of about 8 and 13 when they realized on the playground, I am not safe to cry if I feel like I need to cry. And I could feel their physical pain years later as they were even talking about this. And so one of the things that I think it's really important to acknowledge is that we live in a time and a place where generally a cisgender straight man would be considered in a position of strength or dominance culturally and socially and legally. And gender codes bind men also. And so I think that's why that story came to me to share with you all. So every human in every time and every place gets to figure out, how do I live as joyfully and fully and wisely as possible in relation to the gender codes of my time. And so this is true if you are a cisgender straight man. It's true if you are a cisgender straight woman. Generally, those would be considered dominant expressions of gender and sexual orientation. And then I would also just say that it's observable that every generation expresses these gender codes slightly differently. And so for every listener, as you think about your parents, you think about your grandparents, you think about your kids, you think about your grandkids, it's just observable that the codes surrounding masculinity, the codes surrounding femininity change. They change over time. And so just to notice, this is part of the wonderful variety of the divine in time and space. And it doesn't need to involve any fear on the part of anyone. It can be a part of the joyful journey, a part of learning how can I live with love and strength in relation to my gender, my orientation, if I find myself in a position of strength. But also, I mean, we're clearly going to go on and talk about if I find myself feeling like a gender minority or a sexual minority, how do I also live in joy in that case? And so a lot of this has to do with fully respecting and loving the light that is within you. And at its core, it always comes back to that. How may I fully respect and love the light that is within me? How may I appreciate the light that is within me? You will always have guidance. You will always have an awareness in this time and in this place. This is what is most helpful. This is what is most of service. This is what is possible. And you will also know how to extend respect and caring and understanding. You will be able to build bridges into a future in which everyone is more and more free to able to live in joy. And that includes, by the way, healthy masculine expressions of emotion. And so if you are a man who grew up with codes that said it's not okay to cry, learn to give yourself the gift of being able to cry when you need to cry. Do it appropriately. Do it in a way that allows you to honor what you feel, to feel peace in relation to what you feel, and to understand that tears are part of a healthy expression of being human. And so stress hormones are released when you cry. If you are a meditator, you will cry. And a lot of it is just when we let go of separateness, when we let go, when we realize, oh my gosh, I have unknowingly internalized something that wasn't the happiest, healthiest expression of masculinity or femininity or some other aspect of human identity, then you free yourself. And in that freeing, there is both a kind of like tears of sorrow that you allowed yourself unknowingly to internalize something that wasn't the fullest, happiest, healthiest expression. And there is an incredible burst of soul energy, like soul liberation, that frees you and that is able to help you live magnificently and joyfully. And I would also say we free our ancestors as well. So if any of the less than happy, healthy gender patterns came down through our ancestors, we also free our ancestors as well. And then clearly we pass on to our kids and our grandkids happier, healthy, more joyful expressions of masculinity, femininity, and then any gender nonconforming expression also. And we'll go on and talk about that explicitly later.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Swami. If you are, it's phrased here, in a gender expression or gender that does feel dominant, the invitation, and you identify with that dominance, you identify with hierarchy, the invitation is to step off of that platform of misunderstanding and be raised up onto the throne of immortality, meaning that if you identify with dominance, that's just limitation, that's separation consciousness. In truth, none of us are dominant and none of us are submissive. That's like a human concept, a human idea. In consciousness, we are all one, loved, equal, adored, cherished, brilliant, beautiful. That is without exception. And so the invitation, again, if you identify yourself, if you find as you move through human experience, there are patterns within me that require healing associated around what does it mean to be dominant, favored, above. The invitation is to heal that, because it's through the healing of that pattern that we are able to see clearly what is truth. We're able to connect to what is already here within ourselves, but also within every other human on the planet. It's almost as if, for those of us who identify with that term dominant, it's almost as if you are in a very beautiful palace, in a very beautiful land, but you are confined to that palace. You are never able to explore the beauty around you. You're never able to cross that door. So come outside. It is beautiful, very beautiful. And when you start to heal the patterns, those walls melt very, very naturally. Swami, I am remembered of a story that you shared a while ago of an animal who had been confined, and then he was freed. And then when he was free, he would still like walk the perimeter of the cage where he had been. And so in some ways, each of us can be like that animal. We think that the confinement, the identities that we hold, is like our home, is who we are in truth. And at some point, nobody is imposing it on us. We're choosing the patterns for ourselves, all right? My mom used to tell me, when you know, you know. You can't go back to unknowing. So when you have that moment of clarity, of awareness, it is incumbent upon us to heal the pattern. Otherwise, we're like that animal. We're free, but we're pacing a space. And so in that way, we confine ourselves. Okay, Swami, did you have anything else to add for that question?
Love, joy, and gratitude.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and then for those who are in genders or gender expressions that don't feel dominant, how do they live in joy and gender? So I have a scripture that I wanted to start with for that. This is from Psalm 139. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. I love that. And the response is simply that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. The way that you are is perfect. God made you. If we could see with just like an eighth, it doesn't even have to be the whole thing, just an eighth of what God, the way that God sees us. Oh my God, it is so beautiful. You know the feeling that you might have when it's a beautiful, beautiful spring day like the ones that we've been having, and the sun is on your skin and you just feel alive. You just feel wonderful. That is the love of God for each of us. So if you are a part of a gender or gender expression that does not feel dominant, the invitation is to just love yourself as you are, and to know in truth there is no dominant. Again, these are all patterns, these are all concepts, and it's by recognizing that we transcend them. There's nothing little about you. There's nothing small about you. There's a story of Krishna when he was a small boy. He's playing down by the river with his brother, and his brother sees that Krishna is eating dirt. So he runs to his mom. He says, "Mama, Krishna is down by the river eating dirt." And of course the mom comes. She picks Krishna up, puts him in her lap, and she says, "Krishna, let me see." He doesn't show her. Then she opens his mouth to get the dirt out of his mouth. But what she sees is the entire universe. Everything is there. And so Krishna in the story is representing pure consciousness. Everything is within pure consciousness that is within you. There is nothing little about you. There is nothing above you. There is nothing below you. You are at the center. And so the invitation is to be at the center and to not identify with this concept of being less than. Swami.
Love it. So I'm also reminded of listening to some of my young students at the university who identify as part of gender minorities and sexual minorities. And for many of them, they say that a feeling of struggle is involved with their coming to awareness, and they're feeling like, I'm okay to express myself, I'm okay to be myself. And so for anyone who's listening, if you feel like you are in a place, like I just want to acknowledge there are some countries where it's not legal to have a same-sex relationship. And there are some parts of this country where LGBTQ people don't feel safe to express themselves in the same way that they might in this particular context. And so recently, like this week, some of my students who identify as queer were talking about in one part of the country they might have to express in one particular way. And so there are codes of behavior, and be wise and aware of the codes of behavior based on where you are, and then also know you are loved beyond measure, and love yourself unconditionally beyond measure. And so I'm also reminded of another true story. So this was someone who grew up gay in a part of the country where he didn't meet with understanding and he didn't meet with love when he was growing up. And he realized, he had a sense of humor and a sense of courage about this. He realized, oh my gosh, I have to love myself unconditionally because no one else is going to do it here. So he had this sense of humor about it, the sense of joy, like this is my opportunity, this is my invitation, but also like, oh my gosh, this is my requirement because I'm not meeting with understanding and respect where I am right now. And so he loved himself unconditionally and then graduated and moved to another part of the country where he was able to be outwardly loved unconditionally by other people and be in a community where it was safe for him to express and safe for him to be as well.
Thank you, Swami. Okay, so that was a perfect segue to the next question. What do the yogic teachings say about people who identify as LGBTQIA+? and you can start.
Okay. So I'll start by paraphrasing Swami Shankarananda, who was my teacher and who founded our meditation community. And in case this is helpful, just to state this very boldly, Swami Shankarananda said, there is nothing sinful about being LGBTQIA+. It is no more a sin to be LGBTQIA+ than it is to be a straight person. And so just rejoice that the light in you is magnificent. The light in you is beautiful. The light in you is perfect. You are honored. You are loved. You are blessed. And so to fully allow yourself to stand in that recognition, to fully allow yourself to be seen in that light, to fully allow yourself to be loved exactly as you are. You are so beautiful and so perfect. You are so whole. You are so magnificent. And then knowing that, you become able to, I would say, look with compassion and equanimity on any humans who are confused and who don't understand and who act out of fear, who act out of ignorance, who act out of arrogance or misunderstanding. And you become more and more able to live in awareness, understanding. So I guess like the metaphor that just came to me was having a healthy, energetic immune system, right? So that you know, this is the light in me. And if anything comes my way that seems to indicate to me I'm anything other than the light, I can bless it. I can lovingly let it go. And I can understand that has no power over me. I am the only one who gets to decide what has power over me. And I'm not saying that in an oppositional or defiant way. Like, I'm not saying you have to go around to everyone making faces and saying, nya, 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 nya. But that if anyone meets you with anything other than recognition that the light in you is whole and beautiful and perfect and sacred and beloved and amazing, then God bless them, because they're not aware of the light in them being perfect and beautiful and whole and sacred and amazing. If they knew that the light in them was beautiful, perfect, sacred, whole, and amazing, they would have no occasion to be dismissive of any other human on the planet. And so I also just want to acknowledge those who are listening to this. You are part of living into the solution. You are part of living into this energy of joy and generosity and respect. You are part of creating a future in which we all are freeing our minds of any less than happy, healthy concepts regarding gender, sexual orientation, sexual identity, sexual expression, gender expression. So we are all in the process of freeing our minds. And from my perspective, this is true of people from all backgrounds and people from all ages. We're living into this new reality of the light in me, recognizing the light in you, recognizing the light in all, and then there's nothing to fear. There is only this divine light that is becoming more and more palpable, more and more visible, and you're all part of that.
Amen. That was beautiful. I don't have anything to add to that. So I'll just go to the next question. How can we individually and collectively create a world in which people of any gender feel happy, healthy, and safe? And Swami, you started to talk about that. I have a few scriptures here. I'll read this one first. This is from Matthew 22, 37, 40. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. And so that is the answer to how we can begin to create a world for any human to live happy and safe. Do your work. Do your work. Meditate. Pray. See what is real. There is no greater gift that we can give to ourselves or to the planet, to one another, than true seeing, than to move with love, than to talk with love, than to extend the hand of kindness to every human being. Imagine that multiplied in this room, in this building, in this city, in this state, in this country, in this world. And so there is this ever expansion of light, of kindness, and we contribute to that. When we come together like this in community, we contribute to that. Every time we pray sincerely, we contribute to that every time we meditate. And so if we're doing our work, we're honoring the commandments that Jesus highlighted for his students. We're loving God, and the expression that God shows up in all of this variety, we're loving God in ourselves. And so that is certainly one way that we can help together, we can collaboratively work to create a happy, safe, loving world for everybody. And then another scripture is from the Bhagavad Gita. This is from chapter 10. I am the divine seed within all beings, Arjuna. Nothing, inanimate or animate, could exist for a moment without me. Let us keep in mind that all of this, everything that we can perceive, is by God's grace. That includes those places and people who are arrogant and unclear. All of this Maya, is a part of God's grace. Once I asked Swami, what is the purpose of this planet? I don't get it. And she said it's a compassion factory. She said, I think of it as a compassion factory. So we all are here. We have an opportunity by grace to expand our capacity for compassion. So let us be compassionate. All of this, again, belongs to pure consciousness, that which we agree with and that which we do not agree with. And at some point, by grace, we move beyond likes and dislikes. We move beyond the binary. And then this question of gender, it actually becomes less important. And gender expression, it actually does become just not that important. It's literally just light in expression. It's not complex at all. God is simple. God is easy. God is love. And by grace it is so. Swami.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you. I was simultaneously inwardly moved to tears, but also laughing with joy. Thank you. That's a good combo. So I'll just share a scripture from Svetashvatara Upanishad. The soul bears no characteristics of man or woman, or any other physical distinction. It merely simulates the appearance of the body, which it takes for its manifestation and unfoldment. And so that's such an interesting teaching because it tells us that the light in us is actually beyond gender. So we're here wearing this particular human garment right now. As Acharya Kashi was talking, I was thinking about that. Gender is a kind of garment that each of us is wearing right now. And the same thing for sexual identity, orientation, gender expression. It's a kind of garment that we're wearing right now. But the same way that I'm not actually identified by this beautiful piece of fabric that I'm wearing right now, gender doesn't actually identify me either. And it identifies no one, actually, if you're looking at the deepmost part of you, the soul of you. And so this can have an incredibly freeing effect as well, I think, if you just realize, this gender that I'm wearing right now, it binds me as little as a piece of clothing binds me. So I'm actually already free. I am already pure love. I am already pure light. And now how much fun would I like to have wearing this particular gender garment in this lifetime? How much joy and freedom would I like to bring while I am wearing this particular aspect of my identity? So that's one way in which this yogic teaching is really beautiful. Another way, so keep your sense of humor about this, but if you also keep in mind that according to the yogis, we live many, many, many lifetimes. That means you will live in other genders. You have lived in other genders. You have lived in other expressions. You will live in other expressions. It becomes immediately incumbent upon all of us to create a world in which it's equally fun to be any gender. Instantly, always, we have a stake in that, everyone, no matter what our background is right now. And so we all have our particular talents, we have our particular skill sets. Use them right where you are. Every single person has the capacity to help create right now by the way that you live, the way that you think, the way that you speak, the way that you choose, the way that you act right now. You are helping create a world in which it's fun and joyful and amazing to be here in any gender. So thank you, because you make a really powerful difference. You're here at a very important time on this planet.